How's life? How's your life going? Good? Anybody? Anybody good? 1 good? 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, we'll go with that then. Why? Why? I'm no expert in virology or immunology, but I don't know if you've noticed, but it's been hard recently. It's been difficult, and while I'm not an expert in immunology or virology, I think all of us have been enrolled in a tutorial about viruses and vaccines and things like that. And for the last 18 months, I can tell you, it's been a hot mess. I mean, it's the most confusing class I've ever been enrolled in. I can't seem to get a straight answer. I talk to one person who is an expert, and they tell me one thing, and I talk to another person who is just as expert, and they tell me exactly the opposite. I listen to one voice, and they tell me this is what the science says. And I talk to another person who's also embedded in the science, and they tell me something else. And I'm not sure that I know any more about immunology or virology than I did 18 months ago. I'm not sure that I understand anything except how confused I am about how this whole thing works. But I think all of us can say, well, we've experienced this season, this tutorial about this virus, and I think we can come away saying there are some things we are sure of. In this difficult season, we can say, okay, viruses are real. Can't see them with the naked eye, but even though you can't see them, we know, I think we would all agree, that this is real. This infection is real. We also would agree that it's contagious. None of us want it. None of us intend to be carriers or vectors of transmission, but we are all actively involved in the contagious or managing the contagion of this virus because it spreads through us. Without malice, without any kind of intentionality, we're all involved. And I think the one thing we can agree on is that it's changed our lives. It's changed how we live. If we had said 36 months ago or even 24 months ago, this is how our world will look today, we wouldn't have believed it was possible. But we are in a different place today, a very different world than we were just 18 months ago. Look around. You see the difference that this has made in all of our lives. So to some degree, we have some expertise in virology and immunology. We've all been enrolled in a very difficult class. And I want to take that expertise, what the things that we know about the power of a virus and the reality of it, and I want to apply that to a different kind of infection, a different kind of virus. It's transmitted the same way. It's transmitted between people. It is invisible. You can't see it except in its symptoms. And its chief symptoms are obvious in our culture when we realize that we are fighting this infection. And while it is not a virus that can kill us, it is a virus that can take our lives from us. I want to talk about what that virus is and how we therapeutically try to survive these infections that are changing our lives. But before we talk about that, would you pray with me for a moment? Father in heaven, I would ask that the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart would be pleasing in your sight, that you would use your words spoken by your servant and anointed by your Spirit to remind us to be smarter and be braver and be stronger than we even imagine we are able to be. Pray that for myself and for my family, for all of us here. For I ask that in Jesus' name, amen. It was 3 weeks ago that we began a study, and it's a study that is built on a theme that I plagiarized from a professor of the history of religious literature at New York University. His name is James P. Carse. In 1986, Dr. Carse wrote a book called Finite and Infinite Games. And in it, Dr. Carse said that life is an infinite game. We are familiar with the strategies and the rules and the scoring systems for finite games, that there are finite games all around us, games like basketball and football and baseball. And much of our life is lived in a competition trying to win these finite games. But life itself is much more complicated. We don't win marriage. We don't win friendship. We don't win parenting. It's measured on a different scale. And life itself is an infinite game. And Dr. Carse suggested that we win in the infinite game of life simply by staying in the game. That's how we win it. And so I thought, well, I need more specifics than that. I need some more help. I need more than just surviving. I need more than just existing. I need to know how to measure, how am I doing in life? How do I win in this life? And so I turned to the ancient wisdom from the book of Proverbs, and we began a study 3 weeks ago from a very specific chapter, from Proverbs chapter 3, just the first 18 verses. And we're making our way through there, and what we're surfacing are principles that help us hopefully understand how we can win in the infinite game of life. The first principle 3 weeks ago we talked about is we win in life when we have or we become a mentor. Mentoring is winning. When we are able to receive from someone else who has been there and done that, who has paid the tuition in the school of hard knocks, and we can learn from them so that we don't have to make the same mistakes they made. Or when we, after we pay the tuition in the school of hard knocks, are able to give that lesson to someone else who is following behind us, when we have or we become a mentor in life, we win. Mentoring is winning. 2 weeks ago, I suggested that another way that we win is by living heroically. By not living in fear, but by living heroically, because heroism wins. We know it all around us. We build statues to and we honor, and we are in awe of the people who live heroically, and it's because living heroically is winning. Last week, Pastor Travis Taylor, who led us in worship today, he's a 5-tool player. What can't this guy do? I'm going to retire next week and just let him do the janitorial work. What can't the guy do? But last week, Pastor Travis Taylor taught us about Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. And he made the brilliant point that winning in the infinite game is trusting. Being a trustworthy person and trusting in others, specifically trusting God, is winning. But today we come to verses 7 and 8, and I want to suggest a fourth principle. That we win in the infinite game of life by living it. Living is winning. That sounds simple enough, doesn't it? But I'm not talking about just existing. I'm not talking about just surviving. I'm talking about living. I'm talking about grabbing it by the collar and shaking life for all it's worth. Living is winning. And it's not as easy as it sounds. It's not as easy as it sounds because of the virus, not the COVID virus, but a very different virus. A virus that is spreading throughout our culture and throughout our world. It's what I call the bubble wrap virus. The bubble wrap virus is a virus that exists without us knowing it, because it comes from a part that's in all of us that wants to stay safe, that wants to protect the people and the things that we love. Its motivations are good. But when this virus takes hold in the wild, it overwhelms us. It mutates. And it begins to push us into isolation from each other and from any kind of risk. And we find ourselves living in fear because the chief symptom of the bubble wrap virus is fear and anxiety and worry. And we are paralyzed by that fear. And living a life of fear is not living. And I know, I get it. This life scares the crap out of us. This life is hard. I don't know if you've noticed, but life is out to get you. Life is doing you no favors. If you haven't been keeping track, none of us, not one of us, gets out of this life alive. Life is against us. It's out to get us. Life is hard. And this is where Proverbs chapter 3, verses 7, 8 comes to our rescue. Because rather than be susceptible to the bubble wrap virus and living in fear, it gives us an alternative. It shows us that living is winning and how to truly live. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7 says, "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. This will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones." I like that, nourishing. I like having nourished bones. But what it promises, what verse 8 of Proverbs chapter 3 promises us, is health in our bodies and nourishment in our bones. That's what it means. That's Hebrew language code for living a full life in physical and spiritual, in your body and soul. In the core of who you are, in your body and in your bones, there is nourishment and there is health. If we will do the three things in verse 7. See, verse 7 is sort of a molecular breakdown of a therapeutic formula for pushing back against the bubble wrap virus, for fighting against that need that we have to live in a fortress of our own fear, to wrap our lives and the lives of the people that we love in the need to be safe. That's not living at all. But there are three molecular structures that if we practice these things, creates a therapeutic formula that allows us to really live. And the first one is if we are willing to be smarter. To be smarter. Verse 7, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7 says, "Don't be wise." Now, we may see that as a prohibition, as an inhibition, but that's not what it's saying. It's actually a motivation. See, the Hebrew word for wise, it's the word chokmah or hakam. It has two meanings. On the one hand, the word talks about skill at life. The idea of wisdom in the Hebrew mind meant applied knowledge. It's one thing to know things. It's another thing to know what to do with that knowledge. That's chokmah. That's wisdom. Wisdom is skill at living. I don't just know how to live. I actually practice life. I'm good at it. I'm good at the skill of living. That's one thing that chokmah means. Another way that chokmah was used was kind of nefarious. It was kind of like cunning. The kind of person who can figure out how to make a deal, who knows their way around all of the rules, the kind of sly and crafty person. That's a chokmah person. They're pretty quick on their feet. They're hard to nail down. And it is always negative when it's paired with the phrase, "in their own eyes." In fact, in the book of Proverbs, multiple times, over and over again, it compares a person who is wise in their own eyes to a fool. In Proverbs chapter 26, the author has a field day with this phrase. He repeats it over and over. In verse 5 of Proverbs chapter 26, it says, "Answer a fool according to his folly." Understand what that person is. Speak truth to that person, or he will be wise in his own eyes. He will remain a fool. Verse 12, "Do you see a person wise in their own eyes? There's more hope for a fool than for them." A sluggard, verse 16, is wiser in his own eyes than 7 people who answer discreetly. Ouch. You know what that's saying? That's saying what my mom and my dad used to say to me all the time. Maybe your parents said this to you. They would say to me, Dave, sometimes you are too smart for your own good. Did anybody ever say that to you? You know what they're saying when they say that? You're an idiot. That's what they're saying. You know why you are an idiot? Because you think you know everything. You are too smart for your own good because you don't listen to the wisdom of anyone else. You stopped being curious. You stopped asking questions. You started thinking that I know it all. This is the symptom of a bubble wrap virus infection. A bubble wrap virus infection says, I will wall off my understanding because it's safe there. I know what I know. I know, and my mind is made up. Don't confuse me with the facts because I may have to change my mind. I may have to think of something differently. And that threatens us. That makes us uncomfortable. Our world is secure when we are wise in our own eyes. But we're supposed to be smarter than that. You see, the bubble wrap virus, it sort of walls us off. You know what the first symptom of the bubble wrap virus in your life is? It's closed-mindedness. It's saying, I know everything I need to know about everything I need to know about. I don't need to know why you think differently than me. I don't need a different perspective. Closed-mindedness is not smart. We're to be smarter than that. We're to be smart enough that we know that we don't know everything. Be smarter, but not too smart. The first molecule in the therapeutic that helps us to fight against this bubble wrap virus is to be smarter. The second one is to be braver. You ever talk to someone who's considered a hero, a Congressional Medal of Honor winner, a firefighter who's recognized for saving someone's life, someone who risks their life on a regular basis? Someone who is a first responder or a soldier who perhaps was in combat, or perhaps a middle school teacher who goes into a classroom every day with a group of children who are threatening to murder them and eat them alive. You know what it is to be a hero? You know what I've found in every story that I've read about heroic behavior, or every person that I've known that I would consider a hero? It's not that they are unaware of the danger. In the circumstances when the bullets were flying, or the building was burning, or the risk was obvious, it's not that they denied the reality of the danger. They just knew there was something greater. There was something more significant than fear that was important to them. The soldier in the foxhole was with someone who said, I will not disappoint you, because disappointing you is more of a failure than the fear. There's something that's greater than the fear. In Proverbs chapter 3, verse 7, it says we are to fear God. It doesn't mean be afraid of God. It means to be in awe of God, to revere God, to honor God. The concept of the fear of God, which is in the Hebrew mind the beginning of wisdom, the fear of God means to be in awe of God. And the only thing that a true follower of Yahweh is afraid of is disappointing God, because that's greater than fear. Disappointing your children, letting your spouse down, letting your coworkers down, disappointing others. Serving them is more important than the thing that we are afraid of. You see, it's important I mean, the bubble wrap virus causes us to be afraid of everything. And it's not reckless or careless. It's simply to be afraid that I will not be the best version of myself, that I will let God down, that I will let my family down, that I will disappoint my friends. That is what I'm afraid of. Because to the Jewish person, fearing God meant honoring God and revering God and thinking so highly of God. The one thing I don't want to do, the only thing I'm afraid of, is letting him down. So if we want to fight back, if we want to create a therapeutic against this bubble wrap virus, we need to be smarter, but not too smart. And we need to be braver, but not too brave. We need to understand the danger and the risk, but we also need to understand that there's something greater than fear. The third molecular component of this therapeutic that helps us stand strong in the midst of this epidemic of the bubble wrap virus is to be stronger. To be stronger. See, it says shun evil. And I think one of the symptoms that the bubble wrap virus has infected our lives is this idea that everything that makes us uncomfortable is evil. But that's not at all what this phrase means. I don't like shun evil. That the translation is it's too easy to misunderstand it. And it has to do with the word for evil. The word for evil in Hebrew is the word ra'ah. And I wish I had more time this week to study the etymology of this word, because the word ra'ah is this wildly complex term, and the etymology of it, the history of the word goes way back in the Semitic languages. And it has not just this root of what is malicious or what is bad or what is evil. It also has at its root this idea of brokenness. That what I think we are to understand when it says we are to not be wise in our own eyes, and we are to fear God, and we are to shun ra'ah. We are to be aware of. We are to come to terms with our own brokenness. You know what it means to be strong? It means knowing how weak you are. It means knowing your vulnerabilities. It means knowing your weaknesses. It means understanding that I can't do everything well. That there are wounds and there are scars, there are disappointments, there are frailties that I have that are unique to me. I have vulnerabilities, and our strength is knowing what they are. Not apologizing for them, but by saying, I can't go there. I can't do that. That's too heavy a lift for me. You know what happens when a bubble wrap virus infects a community, particularly a church? You know what the first symptom of that infection is? It's legalism. It's legalism. Because an infection of the bubble wrap virus says, we understand our weaknesses. We don't smoke and we don't chew and we don't go out with girls that do. And we don't drink and we don't dance and we don't party because we know, and what they're telling us is, those are the things we are susceptible to. Those are the things that we don't know how to do just a little of. We have to do all of it or too much of it. So we'll do none of it. And then the church says, and that should be true of you too. So that all of us have to agree that we have the same vulnerabilities and the same brokenness. And that's just not true. We all have different frailties. We all have different thresholds. We all have different vulnerabilities. And the strongest among us is aware of where those lines are, of where those vulnerabilities are. I can't go there. I can't do that. Because if I'm in that situation, I will have a problem. or I've done that and I've hurt others before. And that doesn't mean we're paralyzed. It just means I know that's where my thresholds are. See, what it means to fight against the bubble wrap virus means to build a therapy of being smarter, but not too smart. Being smart enough to know what we don't know. And being braver, but not too brave, not careless, not reckless, not fearless, but coming to terms with the things that are dangerous. And it means being stronger, but not too strong. Being aware of where our limitations are, what our vulnerabilities are. And the promise of Proverbs chapter 3 is that if we do this, we will live. We will live. We won't suffer the symptoms, the fear and the paralysis of when the epidemic of the bubble wrap virus isolates us and walls us off and we live in fear. And it says in verse 8 that this is how it works. It says, if you do this, that your body will be healed. There will be health in your body. And the word for health there is the word rophe. And the word is a word that God applies to himself as a name. In Exodus chapter 15, when he's telling Moses, this is who I am. I want you to call me Jehovah or Yahweh Rophe or Yahweh Rapha, the God who heals, the God your healer, the God your restorer. And what the promise is that God will bring healing, God will bring health. God will bring health to our physical activities, to our relationships, to our lives, to our friendships, to our work, to the body of our life. And he will nourish our bones. I love this. It's zakah e peshe. And it's this meaning, nourish. The first word to nourish means to irrigate, like you irrigate a field, like watering a field. And the second word has to do with the marrow, the bone. And in the Hebrew mindset, the bone marrow is the core of who we are, our true self. And God will nourish, God will replenish, God will water, God will irrigate our true self, our core self, who we really were meant to be. The same phrase appears in the 21st chapter of the book of Job. It describes it this way. It says, one person dies in full vigor, completely secure and at ease, well-nourished in body, bones rich with marrow. Same phrase. It's the idea of this is a person who lived a full life. They really lived. They took the marrow out of the bone. They were living human asobuko. And then it says in verse 25, and another dies in bitterness of soul, never having enjoyed, never having really lived, never having enjoyed anything good. Because they lived in the bubble wrap virus. You see, living in fear is not really living. And I understand that. I understand it. Because this is a dangerous life. This is a risky adventure. Life is a risk. When your feet hit the floor in the morning, there is no guarantee that you will make it through the day. If you feel like life is out to get you, it is. It doesn't end well for any of us. It does not matter. This is a hard journey. It is a fight and it is a struggle. But this is where Proverbs 3, 7, and 8 comes to our rescue. And it says, if you do these things, you can live a full life. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and shun evil. And if you do these things, they will bring health to your body and nourishment to your bones. It's hard, which is why the bubble wrap virus is so infectious, why it's so contagious. Because we want to protect the people and the things that we love, and we want to stay safe. We want to mitigate the risk of the life that is out to get us. And the people who are most vulnerable to the bubble wrap virus, to living in fear, are the people who are the most comfortable, the people with the most to lose. Are the most vulnerable to this bubble wrap virus that says everything serves being safe. And that's not living. That's just not living. That's simply existing. That's simply surviving. You want to know the source code for the bubble wrap virus? It's 3 words, 3 simple words. You can tell that you are fighting the bubble wrap virus when you say these 3 words. I deserve better. Really? Where was the contract that you signed? Where was the note that was passed to you from God that said life will be easy, that you will be safe, that no bad things will ever happen to you? Where was the agreement that said I deserve better than this? Really? Life is a struggle. It is a high-risk, high-wire act. And it's in that danger. It's in that difficulty. It's in the struggle that we see the best of us, that we are most alive. We are most alive not when everything is going our way, but when we rally. And when we realize that the struggle is real and that we are willing to stand our ground and we will not go quietly into that good night. It's the choice from the Shawshank Redemption. If you ever seen that film, near the end of the film, there's a line that said, in life, you have a choice. You can either get busy living or get busy dying. That's our choice. And I don't know about you, but I choose living, not just existing, living. It's not as easy as it sounds, I know. It's a lot more complicated because of the difficulty. But that's where we're on our game. That's what we are fashioned for. We are made for the challenge. We are created to rise. We are created to live this life. And if James P. Carse in his book, Infinite Games, is correct, then we win in the infinite game by being in it. We win it by being in it. We win it by staying in it. We win in life. Living is winning. Live, damn it. Don't just exist. Don't just survive. Live. Grab life by the collar and shake it and say, this is my one shot. This is my one go round. And I will not waste another moment. I will not waste another opportunity. I will not sit out another day. I want to live because living is winning. No, I'm no expert. I don't know how viruses work. The coronavirus confuses the crap out of me. I still don't know exactly what to anticipate or how things are going to go 6 months from now or a year from now. I thought 15 months ago we'd be through this. I didn't think we'd be here. And every time I think I got it squared away and I know what the data is, I hear somebody else say, no, that's not what the data means. No, it's not what the science is. That expert contradicts. It's a hot mess is what it is. But I do know this. That there is a way to rise above this. And it's because we choose to live. Living is winning. So I ask you, how's life?